Experts know more than we do. If an expert says it, then it must be true. Experts know what's best for us. But how often do they ever talk to us? Experts understand mountains of charts and master plans to cure our economy, build a mathematical model instead of going out and talking to real people. Sometimes experts know so much about one thing, they haven't the faintest idea how it relates to everything else. Sometimes experts are dangerous. Sometimes nothing seems more uncommon among experts than common sense. Experts who only look at the big picture when they're trying to cover it up. Just look what happens when managing things is left only to the experts. Haiti, Peru, South Africa, Daryl Gates, the Soviet Union, where dictators knew best what you were allowed to do and what you should be allowed to read, to hear, to know, and to think. And if you were even suspected of saying something that disagreed with expert opinion, you could wind up in prison or worse. Till there was no one left to warn the experts when their foolproof plans were causing much bigger problems and literally bombing their own country back to the Stone Age. Society collapses, economy collapses, secret police are the last to know when their government collapses. The Soviet Union, world superpower, now a vast wasteland of misery, starvation, toxic eco-disasters, Chernobyls waiting to happen, and a Mount St. Helens of ethnic violence that might have been defused over the past 70 or so years if the communist government's experts had gone to work on the problem instead of sweeping it under the rug at gunpoint. Look what a strong military and all those nuclear bombs did for their national security. Meanwhile, back in the States, according to Gore Vidal in an article published in The Nation in 1988, America had a choice after World War II to disarm, as we'd done after past wars, and move forward with a true peacetime economy. Instead, Harry Truman, one of the most poisonous presidents I can think of when you dig behind the scenes, allowed experts to steer us towards a permanent war economy through the National Security Act of 1947. Before long, we had the National Security Council, the CIA, the hydrogen bomb, peacetime draft registration, the Korean War, loyalty oaths for federal employees, Joe McCarthy and Richard Nixon, his sidekick, finding communist traitors and treachery even in a pumpkin. And an American people carefully conditioned and manipulated to fear the Red Menace so much they were willing to raise taxes to pay for all that. That's as good a date as any, if you ask me, to mark when the American government was handed over lock, stock, and barrel to what Dwight Eisenhower later aptly called the military-industrial complex in what was basically a bloodless coup. 40 years later, and what do you know? It can't happen here, but look around. Society collapses. Economy collapses. Homeless Hooverville shanty towns multiply like McDonald's outlets. Pollution in the name of progress shoots cancer rates through the hole in the sky. And the military and intelligence experts we spend billions on instead are so out of it and so incompetent, they fail to predict the collapse of communism, fail to predict Ayatollah Khomeini, never even stop to think that somebody like Saddam Hussein might actually use all those toys we'd been selling him. What's Wrong with this picture. We spend $79 million a day in this country on so-called intelligence. Are we any better off than we were before the experts at the National Security State took over? I don't think so. Being an expert can also be very profitable. When I first moved to San Francisco, I read the city had hired a so-called expert for $50,000 to decide what color to repaint the buses. And beware the expert witness industry. Like that psychiatric expert Dr. Griegson, nicknamed Dr. Death of the Thin Blue Line movie fame, running around all over Texas telling juries why someone he barely knows deserves the death penalty. Or they've just uncovered a new one by the last name of Zane, who is supposed to do DNA, blood, and hair sample tests and fabricated them, allegedly, according to the San Francisco Examiner, so that as many as 4,500 people in West Virginia and Texas may have been wrongfully convicted of murder and rape. Yeah. The other side is saying, no, it's only 1,200 max, but that's still an awful lot of people who shouldn't be there. And beware the expert witnesses who travel all over the country for a hefty fee, testifying at trial after trial whether or not a certain product that's getting sued is defective, whether Benedictine or Dalcon shields cause birth defects. Yes, they do. No, they don't. Yes, they do. No, they don't. Yes, they do. Scientist, student, or fraud. Jury doesn't know, long as they come across as an expert on the witness stand. According to People for the American Way, a Paul Cameron gets $1,000 a pop as a homosexuality expert at divorce trials, even though his religious right connections and anti-gay extremist activity record are a mile long. But the granddaddy of expert rackets is all around us. Yuppie-crats and Nazi publicans, in their partnership for a conscience-free America, are all too eager to do business with experts at inventing a problem we'd like to solve so we can ignore problems we don't want to solve. Family values instead of family aid. Enterprise zones instead of urban renewal. The state of Tennessee closing schools to raise more money for prisons. New hearings in both houses of Congress calling for a rating system to be imposed on music by law as expert witnesses like that noted psychic Dionne Warwick blame so-called gangsta rap for a crime epidemic their own statistics say isn't really going on. Maybe it's moved from the back page to the front page of our corporate tabloid media, and the violent ones are more colorful, but numerically they have gone down, as has juvenile crime and drug addiction. The city of Los Angeles spent $2.3 million on a fingerprint reading system to catch welfare cheats. In the first year, they caught 11. Thank you, Harper's Index. The state of California spent over $3 million trying and failing to build a dam across a certain river. Then along came some beavers who built a dam that worked for free. California also spent $1.5 million on a geothermal energy plant site before taking a look and discovering there was no geothermal energy there. In 1 year, our federal government built 921,000 square feet of new office space in Manhattan, while 66 million square feet remained vacant. And the Air Force at one of their bases, concerned that one of their H-bomb-equipped intercontinental ballistic missiles might go off by mistake, they parked a car on top of the silo. And if that's not enough, the emergency manual at a nuclear power plant in Tennessee, I believe it's Clinch River, Their solution, and I'm not kidding, in case of total meltdown, was to be sure to duct tape the toilets.